Okay. Yeah. Of course. And we are rolling, folks. Let's go. We got everybody here. We got the fellows. We got Jad, Nikki, Jeffrey. You say hello. Introduce the gentleman here. We got Patrick, our photographer, will be manning the camera. Another co-founder of ours, Ben Warren, who recognizes in the PromoTone gear. And then a friend of Benjamin's over here on this side. And then, of course, my younger brother this way. You see Benjamin in this case. And we're getting started.
SEPI chapter. We're here in Ross today, which is really great. It feels kind of wrong as like an LSA person to be like taking over a Ross lecture hall, but you know we're here. So, but yeah, thank you for being here. Let's get into it.
All right, I'm gonna pause.
Question of the day: did you go to Winterfest? And if so, was it fun? I didn't go. Anybody? Yeah? Aiden? Who's last? Oh yeah, who won like the competitions? Oh, okay. So everyone who went had a good time? Cool. Thanks everybody. Okay, so we just have some like general announcements and like updates. This was here last week as well, but as you guys know, the Startup and Venture Capital Career Fair is coming up here in the Ross School of Business. I think it's like right outside where we are like right now, actually, I think. But it's coming up this Thursday from 2 to 6. It's a great opportunity to learn more about the entrepreneurship community and resources, especially if you're interested in entrepreneurship or venture capital. So if you have any questions, just ask. Moving on, this was also from last week, but this is led by this guy, David Janssens, who's like a really cool entrepreneur residence here at ZLI. It's February 25th, so like a week and a half from now. Really great opportunity, and if you're interested, there's a QR code to sign up. Okay, and this is just like general stuff, some reminders. As you guys know, Miami Trek is coming up. Led by Kevin and Maya. It'll be the 19th to the 22nd of March. Really great opportunity to like experience and immerse yourself in like another entrepreneurial ecosystem and meet a bunch of great companies. And then Retreat, which you know, as you guys know, is like the most fun thing we do, is coming up as well in March 28th or 30th. So have that on your calendar. And if you have or if like you want to make any announcements at chapter, just text me. And you know, by me I mean Sarika, as always. And then yeah. Coffee chatting is like in full swing right now. I've had a lot of great coffee chats, a lot of great pledges, so it's been really fun. So brothers, make sure to keep doing them and accepting, and then pledges, just keep doing what you're doing. And then if you want to do a passion presentation, this is pinned in general, but like you can fill it out. We had some great passion presentations from Mihir and Peju last week, so you know, keep it up. Okay, so this is, do you guys want to come up? So we're going to have our judicial board come up, Alex Verhaas, Ella, and is Jenny here? So I don't think Jenny's here, but, so we have an amendment to the Constitution we're making, and we're going to be voting on it now. You can all vote, we're a democracy here at SEPI, and we need a 2/3 majority for the amendment to pass, so I'll turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, we just want to come up and talk, you guys know JBoard, but just to like reintroduce and sort of remind. We just want to come up here and say, number one, a reminder that if you want to fill out like a JBoard incident or report or sort of question in there, you can do that on behalf of someone else if they would prefer that. You can also do it fully anonymously. And then, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, even if you like don't know if you want to report something, but kind of want to ask us or get advice on if you would want to report something or just want advice on anything, you can also reach out with that.
Yeah, so we just want to stress that we're a resource for everyone, and also just we felt the need to sort of maybe increase our visibility a little bit within the wider fraternity. We obviously talked to the UPC this week, so we just wanted to sort of be here to present these amendments, which we'll talk about a little bit now, but also just reiterate again what our role is, at least to some extent. So moving on to the amendments themselves, we have made a concerted effort to sort of address some gaps that have been that we've noticed in our constitution. So these amendments are with respect to our J-Board bylaws, which fall in our wider constitutional document. Completely get it if you guys haven't looked at that in a while. So we're just voting on them just because it's procedure, but essentially you can scan the QR code. The first one is with respect to addressing patterns of behavior, something that we didn't see addressed or explicitly written out anywhere in our constitution beforehand, so felt the need to maybe fill that gap. And then the second amendment is with respect to dereliction of duty, or just e-board roles, and like sort of fulfilling obligations as like someone on e-board or C-suite. I guess it would also apply to someone on J-board. So these are just things that we felt the need to address. And so you can see we need like 2/3 of our active brothers, including pledges. We need 2/3 yay to get these passed. So
Please vote.
please vote. And then,
There's questions at the board.
thanks guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Has everyone gotten the chance to sign and fill out this form?
We'll send it out in the Slack.
Yeah, we will send it out, but it is really important that you all, like as part of this community, should like cast your opinion and your vote on this stuff because it does matter. And if you have any questions, reach out to me or anyone in the C-suite, or especially our J board. So, good. Mario.
Wait, I don't know why Ella put that on the slide. Don't Venmo her. But, so expenses this week, we had pizzas for the potluck. It was $67.27. And then we ordered some sample stickers for the merch. So we're just making sure they're good quality. So that was $9.54. And then total expenses this semester, $2,587.07. And yeah, Ella's broke and unemployed, so she needs money. But I'm just gonna keep plugging this until retreat. Like, if you want to drive, please fill out the form. Again, gas expenses will be covered, but yeah. Also, I lied. I know I said that we'd vote on houses this week, but we're gonna do it next week. And then, yeah, not final reminder, but yeah, dues for SIPC. Some people have paid, but please start paying, and they're due Tuesday, February 25th. Again, if you have any issues, just contact me. Also, that's the QR code, but you can also just send it directly to my number, because that's what it's registered under.
Emma?
Hey guys, so that is gonna be the sticker probably, if the proofs look good. And then this is the first merch interest form, so please fill that out either right now or by the 18th. And then I'm planning on having the card open on the 24th. And then I wanted to shout out Eden for helping me with the LinkedIn post for Meet Your Class, which is out now. And then lastly, please take pictures over spring break. I want to do an Instagram post for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Emma. Pranay.
Yo, I'm just gonna stay here. So we have Palm Tourney this week on Friday, and Ami's place is not here right now. But be sure to fill out the partner form. I'm also gonna send it out in Slack after the meeting. But just figure out where your partner is, and then what your team name is gonna be. The theme is gonna be like dynamic duos, so like figure out a way to dress up with your partner. And then also, we have Yo's chapter next week, but you don't have to worry about that right now. I'll send out more information about that as well as a flyer today or tomorrow. And then also, if you have any ideas for like socials, like Jacob was giving me input yesterday, so just like feel free to fill out the form in the bottom left corner if you have any ideas. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Thank you, Pranay. Thomas?
Same one with the points. David, Joe, and Jacob in the lead with 42. Brothers get points for coffee chats. There'll be points for the Pong tournament as well. I won't be there, so I need somebody to help me with that. And then there's points for the potluck and the next slide, the Smash tourney, which I'm super, super, super excited about. So y'all earn points, brothers, but it's also gonna be a ton of fun. Some of the characters you can play. Rahas's personal favorite, Little Baby. yeah, I'm really excited for that. It's Thursday. Show up. It'll be super fun. I don't have an alumni spotlight this week. This is Jacob Halliburton. He was supposed to get back to me. He's a student founder and runs a business called Ohana, which is super cool. I kind of gave a description from their website here. He didn't get me his response in time, so hopefully I'll have that for next week. But I talked to him a lot, and he's a really cool guy, so I'm excited to share his responses. So our brother events spotlights, if you have something to send in, you can fill out this form here and send it in. But Xavier's a cappella group is having a performance on the 22nd at 7 p.m. He's got a solo in it, which is super cool. I've been to a couple a cappella shows, and they are really, really fun. And they look like just like the movie, like he said, so definitely go.
Thank you, Thomas. Elliot.
Yeah, perfect. All right, today the DEI Black History Month Historical Figure Spotlight is going to be on Patrice Lumumba. So I'm going to take us all the way back to 1925. Patrice Lumumba was born. He grew up in Belgium at the time, but there was this area in Belgium called the Congo that didn't like the way it was being treated. The leaders of Belgium basically forced them into labor. They had to build a lot of stuff, develop a lot of the infrastructure, and he grew up as part of that. And he grew up reading a lot of philosophers, a lot of different academics. He was a really smart dude. He participated in like 7 or 8 different like local policy council types things. And then in 1958, he started a political party called like the National Congo Party, or so I forget the exact name, but basically it was a party within Belgium at the time that basically wanted Congo to stand up for itself and nationalize and basically take agency over its own resources and stop having its resources being used by other people. And he got democratically, basically this party got so much power and they were moving so much that they inspired a lot of people in the Congo to also rise up and stand against Belgium. And eventually they fought for their independence and were granted it by Belgium because Belgium knew they couldn't put up with all like the political unrest going on. So immediately he's elected as Congo's new prime minister. There was some other guy who was the president, but he really, like no one cared about him very much. He was just sort of like the president. The prime minister was doing everything. And in rule, like the first thing he did, right, basically half of Belgium's wealth was owned by like one mining company because an area in Congo was called Katara. And they have all this cobalt, which is used for all these different technologies. And in the 1960s, that's really when like a lot of this stuff started taking off. So he wanted to basically take control back from this mining company that was owned by like France or the US or England, some Western force. And he was like, we have money in this resource, we just got to keep it to ourselves. So he did that, and then about like 2-3 weeks in, that president out of nowhere goes on the radio and says, we're deposing our leader Lumumba. And basically there was all types of tensions going on at the time, but what it really boiled down to was, you're a brand new nation that's just gone through your independence. Rebuilding is incredibly difficult, you need help. And the Belgian government basically wasn't willing to do any of that. And Lumumba obviously was like, okay, you don't want to help us, we'll work our way through it. And the president, who was technically like still in power, but like not really, everyone was listening to this guy. But since the other guy was the president, got a little bit power hungry, and things were moving slow, he went on air and said they deposed of Patrice Lumumba, and all the Western interests were very happy about this, and it actually helped the country seemingly sort of like right itself for a bit, because it did, give them like an influx of new resources because they're getting help from the Western regions that this guy had pissed off. But of course, that basically put all the Congolese people back in this situation where they were before. So there's all this fighting going on, and eventually Patrice does get killed by the US and Belgium. They're just sort of like done with it all, and they sort of realize that everyone's tuned out of it, or there's so much confusion going on that they can take out Patrice and just put in this new leader, and no one will really know. And that basically set up the Congo's foundation. That was the foundation of the Congo. He was their first leader, and that's the path he was on. And then you look at the path we've seen Congo at now. Could you go to the next slide? And I'd like to keep, this is from Patrice Lumumba right when he got in office. The colonialists care nothing for Africa for her own sake. They are attracted by African riches, and their interests are guided by the desire to preserve their interests in Africa against the wishes of the African people. For the colonialists, all means are good if they help them to possess these riches. And this is a 1960 quote that has been true for the Congo since 1960, and is still true now. NPR articles recently have come out all talking about like the forced slavery down there. And it's still the biggest like cobalt provider. So every cell phone everyone has here is from that. And I should have put a picture of some of the mines because they're seriously striking, and it's just children forced to work. And yeah, we're thinking the colonialists, all means are good if they help them to possess these riches. These riches, that's for us, that's our phones, that's our computers, that's the stuff we're using here today. That is something still happening today. That labor to get all these different things is still happening today in the same form it happened in the 60s. So I guess that's sort of the resolution I'm at here, is that Patrice Lumumba's his legacy has sort of a lot been forgotten, and with it, it's sort of been forgotten all the injustice that's still at play with a lot of these things. We should think about the Congo more. We should think about the things we possess more and where they come from. And we should also consider the fact that the system that sort of gives us certain things and keeps other people in a place where they have to do all the getting of it for us, that's a systemic thing that's built over a long time and is taken down through serious change, and also might take a long time. But we're in a unique position here to realize that we are involved in that system, and it's problematic, and that, you know, in honor of Patrice Lumumba and all the others that we want to honor during Black History Month, it's important to think about these things and actually act on them as well. So how can we be better? And that's about it. Sorry if it was long-winded. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Elliot. Okay, now we're going to turn things over to Kevin and Maya, and they're going to introduce our wonderful speakers for today. So, here you go.
Awesome. All right, thank you all so much for being here. I know this isn't our usual meeting spot, and we usually are at the League of the Union. So it's really great to see you all here, especially people who don't come as frequently. We are super fortunate, super thankful to be welcoming Nate and Jeff today to talk a little bit more about their experiences as entrepreneurs. So if you can, please give them your full attention. Of course, like if you guys take notes for committees and stuff, please feel free to do so, but please give them a warm welcome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And you guys can hear me without the microphone? It's all good? Okay, cool. Well, thank you, first of all, for having all of us here today. A couple of special shout-outs. This event was made possible by a few key individuals who are involved in the fraternity. Of course, Maya, Kevin, yourself will have a couple of slides to show here. Do I just use the whole stick? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, first and foremost, theme of today will just, be Ann Arbor. That's where we're at. That's where I grew up and started my entrepreneurial journey. Jeffrey here is also from Michigan, not Ann Arbor, but from Bloomfield. So all this situation is very local, and we are very grateful to be here with you guys today. So a few key thank yous, of course, call outs. Sarika and I spoke months ago. Of course, thank you to Luca and Jude and Benjamin for kind of being the inside champions within this fraternity for making this happen. So appreciate the support, and that's amazing. Would have put a photo of Ross, but you guys are usually in the union. In fact, a few of my friends showed up there today, but it's all good. Special thanks to the fraternity as a whole. the University of Michigan for hosting this event. We're very thankful, very grateful. And then, I guess today is about interacting with us as individuals and being conduits for your guys' professional development. Of course, we've had some pretty unique experiences. I'll kind of let Jeffrey speak to some of that about Innovation Refunds, our latest venture, of which he was chairman of the board and kind of ran the ship from behind the scenes, kind of the real ship, if you will, of business. So a little bit about myself, just to make an introduction. This is literally where I grew up. Many of you may have seen Worcester Park, heard of it, or been there yourself. I started parking cars for the university. That was the first gig. Of course, the Michigan Stadium is massive, and there's not a parking spot at Pioneer, so me and Benjamin and my older brother Eric and our younger sister have all contributed to what has become a pretty bustling business for 8 weeks of the year during football season. After that, in high school, a few of my friends and myself, you guys can meet up with them, interact with them as much as you'd like. You can recognize them by the PromoTone gray sweaters that we're all wearing. These are my co-founders in PromoTone, which is a business that helps small companies partner with micro creators to push their advertising through unique, niched audiences on social media. So pretty cool business. We're launching an app soon. This is, I guess, part of the reason why we're here is to start building some publicity for that. So there's, from left to right, we have Nikki on the left with the mustache. You gotta have a lot of confidence to wear something like that and in public. I give you praise. We have Jad, all my best friends up here, And then, of course, we have Benjamin Morin on the right here, who's our technical co-founder. He's building all of our stuff. So shout out Benjamin. And our cameraman, Patrick, he's helping us film this event and take photos to kind of commemorate the situation. And then, Jeffrey and I met almost 5 years ago over LinkedIn. I can't state enough how useful of a tool that is if you use it correctly. Reach out to people, make sure to connect with folks, and don't be passive. And posting content is passive. Like, you have to actually message folks and get a response, of course. But without further ado, man, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you make an introduction.
I do want a microphone.
All right, go ahead.
It makes me feel important.
Yeah, of course.
Hello. Hello. Oh, there we go. Hey, how's everybody doing? Good, right? Sunday, you're in school. What the hell? Everybody's recovering. So, anyway, I met Nate on LinkedIn, like he said, right? It was quite interesting. I had a venture fund at the time, and we were investing in interactive media and things, and Nate and the team pitched me, and I hung up the phone, and I looked at my assistant, who Nate works with now in a DoD, Department of Defense company, and I said, I'm not going to invest in them, but Nate's interesting. He was very vocal, presented himself well, but that's how I met Nate. On LinkedIn, kind of crazy. But, let me give you a little background, because what I really do want to leave you with today, it's easy to say, hey, we made a bunch of money, we were super successful, and give you a bunch of salient facts. I think it's more helpful if you understand the journey and the pain points that took you to get to the reward, so to speak, right? So a little quick background, I grew up in West Bloomfield, Michigan, so I love Michigan. My first football game was U of M versus Ohio State. I really don't want to say what year that was, but I think Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes were the coaches. So Michigan is near and dear to my heart. Went to West Bloomfield High School, graduated in '85. I was one of the youngest DJs in the United States, and I started my career as a DJ at WDRQ in Detroit, and then WJLB. I was like one of the only white guys at the radio station, and it was a lot of fun. Eventually, I moved into aviation, also here in Michigan, and you know, the family, we owned a bunch of real estate, we bought a couple jets, we provided flight services and something very similar to what NetJets does, but before NetJets. And we really had two clients. It was the board of directors of the United Auto Workers and the board of directors of the Teamsters. And we did that for 14 years. That led to a real interesting opportunity in asset-based lending and aviation. And it really happened, and I gotta emphasize this. Like, if you look around the room, right, these are all the people that you could be doing business with 10, 20, 30 years from now. Relationships are so important. So, you know, I started my career in finance by saving a Detroit-based airline from going bankrupt by structuring a loan for the airline, and that airline, don't shoot me, was Spirit. I don't know if people know, but Spirit was originally a Detroit-based company. And then there was another company that was located in Florida, where I was living at the time, called AirTran. And there was a plane crash in the Everglades. It was terrible. And I picked up the phone. I called the CFO of the airline that crashed. By the way, I knew nothing about finance, and I knew nothing about airplanes at the time, right? And it was really interesting. I called up the CFO. I gave him an idea. I'm like, hey, you know, nobody wants to fly on your airline, called ValueJet, right? Because of the negative connotation of a plane crash. And I gave it an opportunity for them to reverse merge into another airline, which was located in Florida, right? And they were going bankrupt. So that was like a claim to fame deal, kind of set my mark, put my stake in the ground. After that, I opened up my own little boutique consulting firm. Long story short, because again, I want the opportunity to interact with you guys, but I became senior advisor and ran the board of directors of the Seminole Tribe of Florida after they acquired Hard Rock around the world. And I did that for 10 years. And it was an incredible experience that really swung open the door, because I was exposed to many, 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 many things. And the story is kind of interesting how it came about, right? And this is what being an entrepreneur is really about, right? Everyone in this room is going to have an opportunity at greatness. You're going to have an opportunity of a lifetime that's going to come across your feet. And the question is, are you going to recognize it? Are you going to seize it? Are you going to think about it? Are you going to do anything about it? Or is it just going to kind of come and go and you're not going to exercise on it, right? It was really interesting. Hard Rock had made an investment in Central Florida, a piece of real estate. It was a bad piece of real estate. And they had a problem. And they were going to lose like a several $1 million deposit. And their law firm said, hey, you got to talk to this guy, Jeffrey. He may be able to help you out. Long story short, the CFO from Hard Rock came over and told me his story. He's like, oh, we're going to lose $3 million. Everybody's going to be pissed. I looked. Long story short, I thought I could help him. I said, give me a week. So a week later, I go over to the headquarters. I'm sitting with the president, the chairman, and the CFO at Hard Rock. Right? And they're like, what do we do? I said, well, sign this piece of paper. You're going to get $2.5 million back. It's going to cost you $500,000. But you can take this and you have your money back. And they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is incredible. How'd you do this? I'm like, no, all good. This was easy, right? And then at the time, it was like 2009, 2010. A lot of you don't remember, but it was a tenuous time in the economy. If you were in real estate, you were dead. If you were trying to borrow money from the credit markets, you were dead. I was barely getting by living in Naples, right? And I really could use a new gig and money, right? And the president of the tribe looked at me and said, "This is amazing. What do I owe you? Like, how much do you want?" I could have probably told them 100, 200, 300, 400,000, and they would have paid it. And at that moment, something in my gut said, "You don't owe me anything. This was easy. I want the opportunity to work with you." And it's funny, the Seminoles, Hard Rock, big casino, really cool, really glitzy. But the Seminoles are very family oriented, right? So we're waiting, they're having a board meeting in a little bit. He's like, "I want to introduce you to the board." I'm like, "That's great." So the president's son of the tribe comes in, well, their child, and comes in, runs in, gets dad a hug, runs out, right? And I look at the president of the tribe, I said, "Sir, your daughter is lovely." He goes, "That's my son." Long hair, a little heavy. I'm like, oh my God, the CFO's looking at me, he's looking at me, I'm looking around. I just looked at him and I'm like, "Is it too late to charge you?" And he basically said yes. But it led to a 10-year career, and it was amazing. And being at Hard Rock then opened up a realm of opportunity, right? So I then became an investor by people coming to the casino and meeting with me in esports, right? Everybody knows esports, gaming, what have you. So my friend, him and his wife, started a thing called the Sci-Fi Network with Gene Roddenberry back in the day. And then I had the opportunity, I invested in their parent company, Hollywood.com. They also owned a company called MovieTickets.com. We sold that company to Fandango in 2017, doubling the size of Fandango, back when people really went to the movies. And we started this esports team, and we started a Call of Duty team with Activision Blizzard. We started a League of Legends team in Berlin, which we eventually sold for $40 million. We had an Overwatch team. Actually, the last tournament in Overwatch, we won, and we won $1 million. And it was a great opportunity, so we did that. So we got a lot of notoriety. So I eventually left Hard Rock, and I'm sitting around, and I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I post on LinkedIn, I wrote blogs, that's how I met Nate. And one day, I open up my LinkedIn, I see this terrible bullying post of a guy just rampaging on me about being irresponsible and posting on esports and gaming. And I'm like, who's this jerk? I'm like looking at the post, and then I looked at it, I looked up, and it was CEO of the Irvine family office in California. And if you don't know anything about California, the Irvines own everything. They used to own Newport Beach, Laguna Beach. They were big, big, big family. So I reached out to him. I said, I don't know what your problem is, but I disagree with what you said, and if you want to know why, call me. And he picked up the phone and called me. That ended up being the CEO and founder of Innovation Refunds, the company which I eventually hired Nate to, come work with, right? And
Another Arbor photo here.
an Arbor photo.
Art fair situation. There we go.
Where you show?
But yeah, here, this is.
Oh, what happened at Innovation
Conversation
Refunds.
starts, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a great opportunity, and I was talking to Howard, and he was telling me about this company he wanted to develop. He was doing tax and research and development credits, and he wanted to exercise on ERC, which was an opportunity, and I told him it was a bad idea. I'm like, why would you want to do that, right? So being an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily equate to being smart all the time, right? It's more about the mistakes you make. So I talked to Howard, and I eventually met the guys, I went out to California, they asked me to be their chairman, and we were like, how do we grow this company? There's like 6 of us, right? Well, first thing we need is money. Yeah, threw in some money, 400 grand, what do we do next? We found a venture fund that put in $2.5 million, and they were in aggregate, and the venture fund was like a consortium of 100 banks, right? Kind of a unique boutique type of situation. What happened off that $2.5 million is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
We did $6 billion in sales. We did $1.7 billion in revenue in 18 months with ridiculous margins. We scaled to over 1,200 employees in 9 months. We acquired over 25,000 customers, and we designed the business to be able to scale up and down, right? So I want to tell you, money will never buy you happiness, but it'll make misery a lot more comfortable. Because it was crazy in my life. I had a lot of crazy things going on. Like I had a divorce, my house got destroyed in the hurricane, I had a heart attack and almost died, but then I had this thriving business with this incredible growth. How do we grow the company, right? Like, how do you hire 1,023 people in 8 months? How do you spend over $250 million in advertising to acquire your customers? How do you do all this off $2.5 million in investment, right? So the first thing we did was we looked at our asset class of the receivable, which was really a government-backed security, and we put together an asset-based collateral loan based on the receivable from the government, and we were able to lever over $500 million in non-recourse debt. And what non-recourse debt is, I didn't have to sign a guarantee, Howard didn't have to sign a guarantee, my business partner didn't have to sign the guarantee, it was the family that founded Tinder. And we were able to take this capital and put it to work to acquire our customers. It was an incredible, amazing journey. Probably a once in a lifetime thing, but like, it kind of goes to like, when the opportunity knocks, you just have to go after it, right? And borrowing that amount of money, very stressful, right? So many background checks, so many details, not my strongest suit on details, right? But we hired incredible people. We had people from Accenture, Apple, Microsoft, Google. Like, we were able to hire the best and best in talent and surround ourselves, so we had the ability to execute and seize the opportunity.
I found it.
You found it?
I found it.
So Nate, you should take them a little bit through this deck, and then I'll come back and I'll connect the dots.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So folks, this is here. This is one of the pitch decks that we used for, different meetings and kind of how we organize the business when we went out to start new ventures. So of course, I'm going to have an issue figuring out how to switch the screen. So
That's why I hired you, bro.
yeah, man. Here, so
Under that.
this is the management team here. Of course, you can see Jeffrey's right here under Howard. Sean Rodney. Sean's the one who hired me, actually, for this venture. We did a market depreciation study through competitive analysis, which pretty much just means you call up a bunch of people. If you guys know what secret shopping is, if you've ever heard that, it's like a marketing tool or mechanism for figuring out how quickly your market is shrinking. So it's pretty much how fast are my competitors eating up my business, is the question. And, Jeffrey put me with one of the hiring managers there, and he was like, hey, I have this project for you to do. I took care of it in 2 days, and Sean calls me up, and he's like, dude, who the fuck are you? And why have we not been talking before this? And I was like, I'm sitting just after
In
my
today's
research.
credit, he didn't drop my name.
No, not until he was like, who the fuck are you? And I was like, hey man, like, Jeffrey didn't tell you that, like, we were working on this together? And he's like, oh my God, Jeff, holy shit, I love that guy. How much do you want to come work? And I was like, threw out the first number, and he said, okay, that's fine. And if that ever happens to you guys in your professional career, you did something wrong.
You didn't ask for enough.
Like if you say, hey, I want this much money, and they're like, we'll do that, that's great, it means you fucked up royally. Take that lesson, put it in your pocket, and don't do it next time. Always shoot above what you think. Like put a lot of value on your worth there. It makes a big difference. So this is some of the stuff that Jeffrey was speaking to. This is a slide that pretty much sums up the timeline of the company, not necessarily the trajectory, but more or less the sequential order in which these events happened to, add up to what was returning to the small business economy $6.7 billion in tax credits, which I hope you guys all understand that will never happen again. The Internal Revenue Service set out a budget of $50 billion for this tax credit program that was under the CARES Act that came out during COVID. There's another program you guys may have heard of called the Payment Protection Program, or the PPP, that was administered by banks. The ERC is its sister program. And actually in 2021, in either March or April or something like that, Congress made an amendment to the CARES Act and said, well, guys, we're still cooked. If your small business needs more money, you can apply for the ERC too. And what ended up happening was, it nearly bankrupted the Internal Revenue Service, and that's the light way of saying it. You're not supposed to know that, but you should. Put that in your pocket. Government's a funky place. But in any case, we were one of the companies that did that the right way. We would hire a tax attorney on behalf of the client and then charge a success-based fee if you were to get money. You could get up to $26,000 per full-time employee, which is ridiculous for a small business. We did these tax credits for over 25,000 customers. Of course, our projection was like after a certain amount, we were shooting for 100K customers, but then they went on the program because they were like, oh shit, we've spent $257 billion for a program that was only supposed to put out 50. I can't stress the gravity of the real life implications of that situation.
I will tell you, when we started this business, we thought in its entirety, we do $100 million. We ended up doing that, more than that in a month, on a monthly basis.
Almost double that in the best month. Which was just,
yeah.
You literally, you can't make it up. But this was of course, tax credit for just United States-based companies that operated in the United States. You could qualify as a small business if you had up to 500 employees. You guys are all in school. I mean, like, just think about that. Think about that for a second. You have 100 employees, and you qualify for just a third of that tax credit. It costs 10 grand. Like, that's $1 million straight to the dome for your business as a refund, not a loan. Uncle Sam literally went, send the check in the mail, it ends up in your box, anywhere between 1 to 4 checks for a small company like you have your story if you've been buying your cake from.
Oh yeah, no, this is when it really, this is when it really kind of hit home, because it's real easy to get lost in the numbers, business, customer acquisitions, borrowing money, making money, paying people, doing all these things. So I told you I'm from Michigan and West Bloomfield, and I grew up in West Bloomfield, and there's a bakery on Orchard Lake Road, and it's where my birthday cake came from every year since I was a kid. And whenever I come to Michigan, I always go back to the bakery and I get a piece of cake. So 6 months ago, I came and went to the bakery to get my slice of cake. And I walk into the bakery and it looks a lot different, right? Before, they were always cash only, and they had tap to pay, the bakery looked better. And I'm like, oh, you know, I want 4 slices of my 7-layer cake. She's like, great. I tell her the story. This is my birthday cake. She's like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, Miami. She's like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, you probably don't know. I am chairman of a small company, not that small, but, you know.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did, I said, I'm chairman of Innovation Refunds. And she literally breaks out in tears. And then her husband comes out. He's like, what's wrong? Like, is this customer annoying you? And he's like, no, honey, he's the chairman of Innovation Refunds. And he's like, holy mackerel. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you saved our business. We bought this business right before COVID. And I looked them up afterwards. They got like $60,000, $70,000, but it made the difference of them not defaulting on the loan from the seller. And they said, I literally saved their business, which enabled them to provide for their family and their children. And it dawned on me on that second, and really not to that second, like, holy mackerel, holy shit. What I did made a substantial difference, because there's 25,000 other stories that are out there just like that. And as an entrepreneur, it was one of the most fulfilling 15 minutes that I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
I actually got in the car and cried. I was like, I changed your life.
I would say probably everybody in this room has, you know, what is it, like 7 calls to Kevin Bacon or whatever.
6 degrees in the Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, like you probably have a mutual connection in your life that got the employer retention credit. That this was a program that you could apply for years, and it did save a lot of businesses. Of course, you know, you had to find some way to sustain the economy during COVID. So these are some of the headline points. You know, and I guess we can just run through this deck for the sake of running through the deck. There's a lot of interesting stuff that came out of this that wasn't just returning money back and saving businesses. Of course, like, we had a lot more touch points than just the people who converted into customers. So if you guys understand, like, small businesses all operate very differently. Like, you walk into a mom and pop shop, you walk into Mr. Spots. They operate very differently than you walk into Jerusalem Garden, where I actually worked a few years ago. If you can believe it or not, Ollie runs a tight ship. That guy's in there over 100 hours a week. In any case, you know, that is traditionally very difficult to do, to acquire a customer base of small companies, because they all have different criteria. They don't have procedures for stuff. Most of the time, it's people just winging it on a day-to-day basis. Like, you know how to cook, so you're like, okay, I open a restaurant. And if you are that type of technical person and not so much on the business side, it can be hard for you to be open-minded when it comes to buying products and services. People are creatures of habit. This is what I really wanted to put up. This was the slide that was missing. That was the customer acquisition over time. So if you want to talk, like, Max, I remember we gave the presentation, where are you here? You gave your presentation for the business when we were here last time, if you remember that, before Thanksgiving break. You were talking about hockey stick growth. I mean, like, that's 26,000 customers nearly in, like, less than an 18-month period of time. Like, that's something that hasn't happened before.
I will tell you, this growth literally almost killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
literally almost killed me.
Came up to the hospital to see bro after a heart attack. Like, that was a lot. Like, I mean, you take care of yourselves, folks. No business.
Listen to your body. Always listen to your body.
One decision can make or break a situation.
Yeah, with Nate and I had a 15-year friend that I had met through the family that originally owned Fox, 20th Century Fox, and I brought him on to work for us, and I would call him one of the most connected, interesting men in the world. And Nate and I went to his funeral on
literally this week.
On Monday. Monday and Tuesday. And he was,
Ambassador France, man.
yeah, literally Ambassador of France, right?
Ambassador to the United Nations, which is like a fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous position if you think about it.
You know what's ridiculous? That an ambassador from the United Nations wanted to come work for me,
Ah.
which is kind of cool, right?
Hey, you guys got a lot of questions to ask, but like, how about I say this, just to make it personal, like, you know, Jeffrey has probably been the biggest impact on my professional career as a human being than like myself and my co-founders in our business. And you know, like, he was willing to come here because that's something that, you know, we can be a conduit for any type of professional development, so feel free to make use of him.
Actually, the president of our company are like, why are you hiring this 20-year-old and giving him, you know, 6 figures? And I basically told him because I told you to. And Nate became a superstar. And now he's off working in a DoD company,
It's a
Department of
American
Defense contractor.
government contractor, so we provide systems modernization, which pretty much just means we partner with companies like Salesforce and ServiceNow, like, you know, AI solutions for cybersecurity and other mechanisms. Our biggest contract is with the Department of Interior, so that's the one that manages like all the records for the U.S. government, treaties with Native Americans, and any information that flies throughout the government is managed by them. You guys are familiar with the Library of Alexandria, right? I got that name correct. So our business's main business is pretty much preventing that from happening again. We take literal like file cabinets of records, take them out of the file cabinet. You guys know what OCR is? Just like a way that you can digitize paper information. So it's pretty much just a computer that goes, it makes this something you can put on the screen. And then we build systems to store that information. And that's not, sounds boring, right? But like, I hope something that you guys take from this is you don't have to do an exciting business to be successful. Most best businesses
I will tell you this. Hard Rock, a lot of fun. Private jets, helicopters, you know, rock stars, pop artists, casinos, like, you know, I don't know if you know the casino in Florida, Giant Guitar, right? Well, I was one of the 4 people that helped make that decision. It's a great story. We went to Cannabis Cup in California, right? So, you know, first of all, everybody was fighting to get a seat on the plane to go to Cannabis Cup. Then we went to an auction, and I bought the Breaking Bad hat, the Heisenberg hat, right? At the auction for 70 grand. Then, you know, for Hard Rock, that's what it is, memorabilia. Then we went to dinner, and the cast cooked us dinner, right? You know, for buying the hat. It was part of, you know, it was for charity, right? And we're driving back. If we're driving back to the plane, we get on the plane, Axl Rose's plane is broken, we're like, hop on, you know, Guns N' Roses. How many people know Guns N' Roses? Probably not.
Oh, no.
Damn! Go Michigan. That's why I like coming back to Michigan. So Axl Rose, you know, hops on, we give him a ride. We're like an hour and a half into the trip, and Axl Rose is like, oh, I would give you a concert, but I don't have a guitar. You know what I said? Land the fucking plane. And we land the plane in Knoxville, midnight, and we go to a pawn shop and we buy a guitar. And we come back and he's playing. Anyway, we're talking about the casino expansion, and we're talking about building a bigger hotel, and they're like, what should it look like? And I'm like, not what it looks like today, right? Like, concrete, Florida, boring. I'm like, modern, classy, you know, something like really, really cool. And the chief of staff goes, wait a minute. This girl, amazing by the way, in her 50s, she picks up her Mick Ultra, drinks the whole thing, slams it down on the table in the airplane. She goes, let's build a giant fucking guitar. And the president of the tribe is like, that's a good idea. We'll do that. That was it. That was the moment. No studies, no architectural presentations. At one exact moment, they were like, we're building a guitar. That's entrepreneurial. Think about it. And you know what? You know what's really interesting? Being an entrepreneur, it's like taking moments like that, and I would tell you, and it seems like so cliche, but like I would rather execute and fail than do nothing at all. You have to try. You have to take that chance. You have to sit there and think about it over and over and over again. You gotta put in the hours. When the opportunity's there, there's no 5 o'clock, there's no 8 o'clock, there's no midnight. You just go, 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 because the opportunities are rare and the duration of time is short unless you can build something that's reoccurring, and you need to recognize it. But you know what's more important than that? Recognizing when to be done. When to take your chips off the table. When do you walk away? You just got the big payout. Do you hang out? Do you keep gambling? Right? That's the gambling industry. You sit there, you win a bunch of money, and then you 3x it and give them 2-3x back. So as important it is making the money, recognizing the opportunity, it's just as important to know when to walk away and take your chips off the table and say, I'm done. I recently did that and retired in September.
Yeah.
September?
Same time as my mother.
Same time as your mom, right?
Actually, like August.
And I went to Europe, I traveled around, I saw all my friends, it was a great time, right? So, I mean, there's so many salient facts about what we did. I mean, we made a lot of money, we spent a lot of money to make it, we did it in a real creative way, but...
I mean, like, what do you guys want to hear about? I think
Yeah.
it's really time to start, you know, with, like, you've heard all this.
It's very uncomfortable sitting there saying, like, I did a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah, I know. Of course we have to...
I did a bunch of cool shit.
Got to give some context, but like, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drive the conversation if you'd like to participate. And don't want to force anybody to say anything, but please.
Yeah, was there ever a moment in like any of your endeavors where you felt like a complete dumbass? And like, what did you learn?
Oh my God, all the time, right? My first dumbass moment was telling the founder of this company that it was a bad idea. So I was 6 months behind the curve, and if I would have hopped on then, I probably would have made 2 or 3x what I actually made, because I came in like 6 months later. So that was a dumbass moment. Another dumbass moment was sitting there with UBS, right? And we're trying to get like money, like we were going week to week, right? And you know, they asked me a real technical question about tax. You know, as chairman of the company, I had no idea. I was above my head, and I should have had somebody in the room, right? So there's a bunch of dumbass moments. I will tell you, like, and I'm not embarrassed to say it now because, you know, I've spoken at Cornell and Stanford. Like, I'm really happy to be at U of M, actually, because, you know, it's near and dear to my heart. I was a terrible student. My grade point coming out of high school was super embarrassing. And I got thrown out of Grand Valley for smoking weed in 1986. And I never went back. I just started working my endeavors, and that was it.
You guys can do it. You're already on a faster track.
Yeah, they're doing that.
No offense.
No. So, a lot of dumbass moments. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious if you were talking about the guy who posted the LinkedIn post, like the Irving.
Yeah, Howard.
Oh yeah, I was wondering like more about the story that led to it. Was it him that became part of the founder as well?
No, he's the founder of the company. He's the heart, blood, and soul marketing genius, who, by the way, also didn't go to college.
Okay. So,
Kind of crazy, right? 2 guys run this billion-dollar company, borrowing hundreds of millions of dollars, and neither one of us went to school. And we would have arguments, right? And he would argue and say, you don't know what you're talking about. And I go, you don't know what you're talking about. And then I would look at him and I said, you know what? Let's go talk to someone who went to college who knows what the hell they're talking about and get the answer from him, because we're speculating.
yeah, I'm curious on like how do you like turn that around, like okay, this is the only thing goes in like this perception and then like the conversation, like how it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So when he called me up, like, you know, the first 10 minutes was kind of tenuous, right? We were talking, and then, like, as we started to talk, and you heard me mention, like, relationships are so important, right? And we were talking, and he was very involved in real estate. I was very involved in real estate early on in my career. I made the mistake to go work for the family business, right? As I say, my cousin's like an idiot. He went and got his doctorate in finance from the London School of Economics so he can teach other families how to lose $100 million. So, but I was starting to talk to Howard, who was also in real estate. Like here in Michigan, like, you know, I don't know, people know Troy Technology Center over there on the east side, but you know, we owned all of that. You know, I would say in the late 90s when I started in the family business, we were GM's largest landlord. And like, so I started talking to Howard and we found mutual connections and people and points of contacts we knew, which kind of validated both of us. Like, I'm like, oh, maybe this guy's not a jerk off. And he's like, oh, maybe this guy has some substance and bearing to what he's talking about. So that was the pivotal moment that turned. And when I went out to California on a trip, we got together for breakfast and that was it.
Yeah, if I may add, like if you, like the mutual connections bit, if you find kind of ways to put your foot in the door and have a comfortable warm introduction for a conversation, I mean, there's actually no better practice. But yeah, anyway.
Who here has a great idea? No one? Really?
Please.
All the tuition? What's your idea?
So I'm pretty much starting a company to help like college engineering students like find project opportunities. So like there's a gap that a lot of students, like especially like freshmen, sophomores, juniors, it's hard to get internships. I mean, it applies to all majors, but for engineering specifically, it's really difficult. So I'm actually taking students who've done capstone classes, taking their projects, recreate, like kind of like modifying them and selling them on the platform for students who are like freshmen, sophomores, and juniors.
That's amazing.
Okay.
And you monetize that, right? How do you monetize that from the company?
Yeah. So I'm like,
Okay.
we sell the projects.
Okay.
We sell them as like project kits.
That's cool, right? Who else has a good idea? You're all supposed to be entrepreneurs. Home slice.
I worry it might be a little bit like, I'll try and like do it really short, but can I even take a roundabout way of getting to it?
Yeah, I don't care.
Heck yeah. Oh,
It's your time.
Yeah, I'll be allowed.
I don't work anymore, so I have nothing to do.
All right.
Except go to Xochimilco's in Mexican Village in Detroit tonight.
Xochimilco's?
Yeah, best Mexican food in the world.
Never had it.
Oh my God, it's so good. One time when I was with Hard Rock, we literally spent 50 grand to fly up on the jet to go have a $12 lunch at Xochimilco's and flew home. Because they got tired of listening to me tell them about how much I like the food.
You took a private hit just to go to the Xochimilco?
Yeah.
Dang.
That's what you can do when you have a casino. You can do stupid shit and you can afford to fund your mistakes.
What was your business?
Oh, yeah, so probably some people in SEPI have already heard it if I've talked to you, but yeah, I think a lot about how the generation above us, we look at it, and there are all these things we would change, even when we're reflecting on our own upbringing or where they are now. And two of the biggest things that I see involve our sort of like retention rates and the way that works. I think all of us in here, like we don't want our kids to be on TikTok. We don't want our kids on Instagram Reels because we know just how much it
You mean what all of you do every day and night?
Yeah.
Because I even do it, right?
And like, why would we want to put our kids on that? We've seen what it's done to our own attention span, and even, you know, the way like the people that raise us now, like sort of see it, they don't understand that all, because when they went to college, none of this was around, you know? So I think of that issue, and I also see an issue where we live in a world where we have all the like academic research in the world showing like mass inequality, even though we have enough of everything for everyone. we have all this academic research talking about, I don't know, like how the climate crisis is really like inevitable at this point. And even so, there's not a lot that's been happening to actually change that or correct it. And the way I think that has a lot to do with presentation style. We have all this research, but we don't really need a lot more academic research of people in the field. You know, we need people to make actually people care about stuff. You know, and I had an idea of sort of, what if there was an app that like I didn't have to worry about my kids getting on, you know? But what if it also was in like the same type of way where it sort of captures your attention in that very dopamine stimulating way that they know how with like the algorithm. So it would basically just be going around to like master's level academics, or there are tons of PhD having people in the US that are hopping around from community college because they can't find work, you know? And I was thinking, what if you could make an app that you just went to these academic people and you told them, I know you're smart. I don't need to hear you laid out like every other econ, sociology, psychology professors make the same point a million times, but no one wants to hear it because you made it boring, right? Instead, flip it, you know? Make people actually care about your student. You've been studying it for 40 years. This is your passion. You can talk about it in a way that's care. You've come across experiences that other people will care about and find interesting, you know? So would there be a way to sort of go to those type of academics and be like, hey, we'll give you some money to make like a 1 to 2 minute video, but make it so that a 13, 14-year-old would be entertained and engaged by it, you know?
So you're really addressing social change, right? But how do you monetize that, right? Like that, like there's social responsibility, and like, I'm going to make a broad statement. It may not be correct for everybody in the room, but guys, you're sitting here at U of M, right? Everybody here, even if on scholarship, like it's a privilege. And you're at one of the best schools, I think, in the world, right? Which is going to afford you a lot of opportunity. But, and you can effectuate social change, right? But like in the realm, is it a business? Or is it a socialistic type of thing to change the world, right?
Yeah, I would say for me it would be both.
I'm going to give you $1 million. How am I going to get $3 million back?
How are you going to get? So the first thing I do is I go to already.
I'm not giving him $1 million.
Well, I'll tell you how I use it.
All right.
There are already some like educators or creators doing a similar type of thing on TikTok right now. And I'd go to some of them and have them immediately make some for my app. I'd also try to get to like 300 videos, just going to, like seriously, just pure hustling it, going to different professors. If I also had $1 million, these professors, like, they're not getting paid a lot. They're getting paid like full semesters for like $2,000 at some of these community colleges, PhD people. You know, they'll make a video for like $100, $200. And then if you can get to 300 of that, you know, you have a model there. You can see if people like it.
So you're making climate change interesting, and you're monetizing the content.
I would say like any type
and the impact is social.
Yeah. Or, you know.
Maybe I'll give you $2 million.
$2 million. Yeah. But I think, once you actually have a hold there and people are using it, I mean, you know that once people are more dependent on a platform, you know, and they're used to using it for a lot of things, that's when you monetize it a lot better.
I will tell you, like, in my experience and practical experience, it only takes one good thing to change everything. You could be on the heels of your ass, and that one idea, that one idea changes everything. And then, like, it just takes on a momentum that you don't even realize. When we went through this, I will tell you, and Nate can express this because I had 1,200 employees, but Nate and I were, you know, close. Like, it was a fog. It was a literal fog. Like, you know, we started and, like, we didn't even know how I was going to get, like, $2.5 million, right? Well, how am I going to get $100 million? And then it became easy. It literally became easy and systematic. we would raise 30 million in a week, like running to Dunkin' and getting a coffee, right? Because the return was there, the collateral was there, and the infrastructure and the guardrails and the business was there, and it literally took a life on its own. I will say in the height of things, it was really interesting because I always worked very, very, very hard, and it was just almost like an autopilot, like you were riding in the Tesla, you know, driving down the street. Crazy, crazy euphoric state, right? Question?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So I know you mentioned like how you guys are scaling the business like pretty rapidly,
Like crazy.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask essentially at the core founding team, and I think you mentioned you had like 6 people. How did you guys keep that mission and like the culture, I guess, going from like that small team expanding off of there?
You know, first of all, I'm amazed that all of you guys are listening to a guy with a bunny on his cardigan, right? But no, it's interesting you say that because one of the hard things that I had to deal with, even being chairman of the company, and the buck stops here with me and Howard and, you know, the president of the company, was realizing that my own company had politics and, you know, little fiefdoms and kingdoms. And, you know, one day I got on a conference call and there were 28 people on the conference call, and I'm sitting there listening to them all talk. And we hung the conference call. I call Howard, I'm like, who the freak are all these people? Howard's like, I don't even know. I called the president of the company. I'm like, who are all these people? He's like, those are all your mid-level managers. I'm like, what? But, you know, it was really, to answer your question, it was really difficult. And like looking back, you always realize you wish you could do things differently in certain respects. But that's life, right? But to know that my own company had its own like kind of subculture going on, because in my position, you know, there were all these managers, there were 16 people in human resources, there were all these departments and tiers. Like the flow chart of the company was like 18 pages.
Oh my God.
The flow chart.
I found it.
Yeah. And it was really, I'm on top of the flow chart, right? But for me, my stress was, you know, if a problem didn't get solved in the system and it hit my desk, it was 911 and a fire. And I literally, every day for me was 911 fire. So I would have to deal putting out that fire, and I had no time for culture, right? And you try to implement people to make a better culture, and we did cool things. We actually treated our people too well. We overpaid, we treated them too well, and I will tell you, it was great when, you know, the music was playing and everybody was dancing. When the party's over and we scaled down, because 73% of our workforce of the 1,200 people were contract. And that was purposeful because we knew we would have to unwind them. You know, we had like 400 full-time employees and the rest were contracts. So very hard.
I'm going to add you 1 second. There's no formula for that. As everybody probably knows, people problems are going to be your hardest problems in life.
1,200 people, 1,200 problems.
Like, trust me, there's like, if you find yourself in that situation, bro, get ready for a journey. You just will have no idea what the hell is going to happen the next day.
You know what, I will tell you this, and I always try to do this, and Nate knows I dealt with many difficult situations, like without detail, I had to fire our first president, I had to fire our director of human resource, I had to fire some co-founders, right? Pretty tough. You know what, treat people how you want to be treated, right? Like, you know, I always ask everybody in the interview, I would ask somebody, what is your superpower and what is your kryptonite, right? And would throw them off, like they thought it was a trick question. It's not, it's just intellectual question. It could be personal, it could be business. Like, you would get the answers like, oh, well, my superpower is I like working too hard and I love cold calling clients. That's bullshit. Nobody likes cold calling clients. But I would say, like, my superpower and kryptonite are the same thing. One word, empathy. Right? You know, have empathy. It's a superpower because it allows the personal connection, but it's also kryptonite because, like, you know, sometimes in my position you have to do difficult things like letting someone go. It could be a friend you hired, it could be a colleague you care about, it could be somebody who had a terrible family situation. Like, you know, it's life. No magical answer.
Yeah, please.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the service you guys provide, is it something that small business owners can like do themselves?
Oh.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? I would answer that question, yes, right? 100%. But I will tell you, like, I ran the board at Hard Rock, right? I've done, like, some pretty cool stuff and complicated stuff. And even though I got thrown out of Grand Valley, like, I'm a pretty smart guy, right? I will tell you, when I looked at the process of applying for the credit, I would have abandoned transaction
So fast.
3 or 4 times.
So fast.
Like, the government made things very complex.
The IRS is the person who comes to your door to collect your taxes. Imagine having to justify taking it back from them. And you're a cog in the system. There's like 86 million registered small businesses. And
It was designed to be complicated on purpose,
So you didn't have to
right?
pay
So a lot of people wouldn't apply. Like, it was really, and this is only my opinion, like, you can't take this as factual, but the program was really designed as a political maneuver to say, hey, we're helping small businesses in America, which, by the way, account for the majority of the economy and the jobs, but we're really not going to help small business. And, you know, to be clear, we made the market for this business. Hundreds and hundreds of companies came in behind us doing this, but we made the market. We did it right. We spent a lot of money. We made some mistakes. We would spend money to correct those mistakes, right? I think our biggest mess up, I spent $40 million to fix. But, like, the government never expected us to come along.
No.
And make a market like this, and they never expected these type of dollars to go out.
I think probably a congressman or a congresswoman's favorite thing to do on the floor is say, I saved the government X number of money, right? You come in and you saved money that year, you keep your job. The ERC was a program they offered and made complicated so somebody could come back and take accountability for saving the government $50 billion, but that obviously didn't happen.
No, but I will say, like, I described that moment with the birthday cake, right? That was heartfelt. Like, you know, and did every one of our customers need that money and have that type of story? Of course not. But you know what? Thousands of them did.
Yeah.
And it made me feel really proud and good about what we did and what we accomplished. The money we put to help assist and put back in the system. And by the way, we don't scrape the money, right? Like, we would have third-party tax attorneys do a direct engagement with the customer would get paid, and then the customer would pay us. And if the customer wasn't happy, they wouldn't pay us. We collected billions of dollars. You know why? Because the customers were happy and they were provided a legitimate service, because guess why? They never would have gotten the money and they would have abandoned transaction because it was complicated.
Yeah, a question and compliment for Jeffrey. First, I like those jeans, they look great.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Yeah, no problem. And secondary, and I think maybe Jeffrey and Nathan could speak to this, but what would a piece of advice be to someone who wants to get better at thinking outside the box, recognizing opportunities and creating opportunities for themselves. Because I think maybe here at Michigan, a lot of us kind of like fall victim to the system a little bit of like, okay, got to do my homework, do good on my exams, get an internship, go into the corporate world. What are some advice that you would have to really seek out opportunities and recognize ways that you can do that?
I'm gonna go first. You gotta talk to people. That's first and foremost. Like, if you are spending space and time with another individual that you've not met before, you can open up Pandora's box in terms of like, because think about it. You know, Kevin, you probably know 10 people I've never met before. Probably a lot more than that. And yourself probably know 40 people I've never met before. That goes for everybody in this room. So once you get to the final person, you're talking about probably over 1,000 people who, I'm sure all of you are well connected with, you know, productive members of society. We all want to help each other out, you know? And that's like thinking outside the box. I would say you don't have to do too much of that. It's more about putting yourself in the right place at the right time. That's kind of what Jeffrey said earlier. When something crawls across your feet, be paying attention and have a presence of mind. You don't necessarily have to do all the hard thinking for yourself.
Yeah, I would even put it a different way, Jude. I would like say, like, don't worry about always being the smartest guy in the room, right? Like, you know, sometimes things just happen, and yeah, I will take luck over being smart any day of the week, right? There's just moments in life where, no, I disagree with you.
Disagree, it's all good.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Listen to the guy who's retired with the
Yeah,
money.
I was gonna say.
You got a long road ahead.
Absolutely.
But, you know, like, luck is a big thing, right? Like, that's life. And, you know, like, just keep executing and don't be afraid to make a mistake. And, you know, remember this, you are the company you keep. Always keep better company. Always level up. Always be cognizant of, like, the people you're around, who you're hanging out with, what you're doing. It's a constant, right? Like, you know, just keep bettering yourself. And every problem is an opportunity. Us not having money to execute was an opportunity for us to go get more money and more effectively execute. These problems can seem debilitating, right? I'm getting a divorce. My house got destroyed in a hurricane. And I founded this company, huh?
You should make a point that's not an exaggeration. Like before the company started, house gone.
Yeah, everything, 30 years, every valuable possession, every personal possession. My ex took the dog, like, it was horrible. But it was an opportunity, because I was freed up. And when we divided the assets, I was like, you take this, you take this, you keep the insurance money from the house. I just want this little bullshit company called Innovation Refunds, sign here. And it ended up being the biggest success of my life. So,
you got a better dog.
I got a great dog.
Callie.
You have no idea. That dog went everywhere. The new dog went everywhere with me. Sits at the tables at every bougie Miami restaurant.
Yeah?
Yeah, like this dog.
There's evidence.
Yeah, this dog is great. I love my dog.
Yeah.
More than Nate.
Please, right here in front.
Yeah, how like your different upbringings like really contributed to like your strengths that we talked about earlier, your strengths in business run as entrepreneurs, as like people, like team members, just in general.
All right, yeah, no, that is actually an easy question for me to answer, because I have one younger sibling who runs automotive for Oracle, right, globally. And he's my father's son. My dad was super analytical finance guy, lifelong employee of Ford Motor Company, upper middle class, good home in West Bloomfield. I am my mother's son. My mom ran children's hospice for Henry Ford Healthcare Systems for 30 years and took care of over 400 diamond children and counseled their families, right? Empathy, superpower, and kryptonite. That attribute and the type of person my mom is actually 100% contributes to my overall success in everything I've done, from Hard Rock to this company. Because, to be honest with you, all these fancy decks, graphs, borrowing money, you know, my superpower is the CEO, the CFO, the president, Nate, the janitor. I can sit down with any of them, have empathy, understand their situation, and try to make it better. I can fix you, who will fix me? But that's okay.
We've got time for maybe one more question.
Go ahead, man. How do you find purpose in your life now? I mean, you're retired, you've like, these companies became your worlds, and you switched worlds a whole bunch, you almost died. So like, how do you find purpose in your life now? You found all this stuff.
Great last question.
Oh my goodness.
Save the best for last. I
Wow.
appreciate that. Go ahead.
Well, it's all recent, right? It's 4 or 5 months. I'm very much enjoying coming and speaking with you guys. I was actually talking to Nate's mom, who, you know, had a position here in the university. Yeah, and your dad. I may consider teaching. I may consider, you know, mentoring more people. I'm single, so I'm dating younger and having a great time. Hey, it's the truth.
Oh, I know. That's a good way to
I'm old and have a lot of money, right? That's what you did. He was like, oh my goodness. But good question.
Yeah.
And we'll see what's next. I'm not done. I'll tell you this, and I'll leave you with this. It's funny. You reach this moment in life where you have success, and I retired, and I've gotten more job offers of interesting, like crazy job offers that I would have killed for my entire life. And I'm just not interested. Like, I was offered to be, you know, national president of iHeartRadio by Bob Pittman, you know, chairman of the company. I was offered a job in the Trump administration, which I declined. I did not take it. But, you know, because it seemed like it'd give me a heart attack. I'm being offered board positions. I may take a board of directors position at the hospital in Orlando. So, stuff like that. Community oriented.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
You guys don't. Thank you guys for being in a very, very proud moment for both of us. Of course, I appreciate you guys being the faces of being here. Like, couldn't state the gratitude enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that's good, man.
Maybe we can stick around for a little while.
Yeah. Stick around. We're gonna go to Schoonover.
Yeah, man.
Some margaritas.
Have a good few margaritas. We're gonna Miami.
Nate's fine.
Oh, fuck, man. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.